mouse sits in a clean white cage. It has never been hurt. Nothing bad has ever happened to it. And then a faint smell drifts in, a little like cherry blossom, a little like almonds. And the mouse freezes. It flinches at a scent it has no reason to fear, but its grandfather had a reason. Its grandfather was taught to fear that exact smell in a laboratory years before this mouse was born. The fear skipped a whole life. It crossed from one body into another, through the one place a memory should never be able to go, the egg and the sperm. So here is the question that has split neuroscience for a decade. Can an experience, a fear, a famine, a lesson learned the hard way, be written into your children before they are even conceived? Can you inherit a memory? The honest answer is stranger than yes or no, because your body seems to be built very deliberately to make sure the answer is no. And every so often, something gets through anyway. Let's start with what is not in dispute, because the mystery only means something once you see how solid the ground around it is. Inside almost every cell, you carry the same 3 billion letters of DNA. That sequence barely changes from your brain to your bones to the child you might one day have. So the letters are not where the action is. The action is in which genes are switched on and which are switched off. That switching is called epigenetics, literally above the genes. A biologist named Conrad Waddington coined the word back in the 1940s, long before anyone could see the machinery. Now we can. Tiny chemical tags, called methyl groups, clamp onto the DNA and quiet a gene down. The proteins the DNA is wound around can be tightened or loosened. Small strands of RNA float through the cell, silencing this, amplifying that. And here is the part that matters. These tags are not fixed. What you eat, the toxins you breathe, the stress you carry, all of it can move them within a single lifetime. Your experience leaves a chemical signature on your genes. That much is settled science, which leads straight to the obvious, dangerous question. If experience can mark your genes and your genes are what you pass on, then couldn't your experience be passed on too? It sounds airtight. It is also where the trouble begins. Because your body has spent millions of years building a wall against exactly that. When a sperm meets an egg, one of the very first things the new embryo does is tear almost all of those chemical tags off. It wipes the slate. Then, a little later, the cells that will become the next generation's eggs and sperm get wiped a second time, scrubbed back down toward a blank state. The epigenome is erased not once but twice. Scientists call it reprogramming, and it is not an accident. There is even a protein whose apparent job is to stand guard and stop epigenetic information from being handed down. Read that again, because it is the whole heart of the matter. Your body appears to be designed to forget. The default setting of mammalian life is to strip away what a parent's cells learned, so each child starts clean. So the skeptics have a simple, powerful case. The wall is there for a reason. Whatever a smell or a famine writes onto your genes should be erased before it ever reaches your children. And there is a second trap hiding in the word inherited. Imagine a pregnant female exposed to stress. In that one moment, the stress touches her. It touches the fetus inside her. And it touches the tiny cells inside that fetus that will become her grandchildren. 3 generations exposed at once. So to prove a memory was truly inherited, and not just directly stamped onto a body that was physically there. You have to see it survive all the way to the great-grandchildren. That is a brutally high bar. Most famous headlines never clear it. And yet, every few years, something climbs the wall. take that frightened mouse. The experiment was real. Published in 2014 by two researchers, Brian Diaz and Kerry Ressler. They taught mice to fear the cherry blossom smell with a mild shock. The pups those mice had afterward, and even the pups of those pups, startled at that one smell, and nothing else. They had physically grown more of the specific nerve cells that detect it, wiring for a danger they had never met. It held even when the pups were made by IVF and raised by strangers, which points away from parenting and toward the sperm itself, where that fear gene sat oddly unmarked. Then there is the strangest experiment of all. A biologist named David Glanzman worked with sea slugs. Shock a slug's tail the right way, and it learns to defend itself. Tap it later, and it recoils for nearly 50 seconds, where an untrained slug barely reacts for one. Now the twist. Glanzman took RNA, the cell's messenger molecules, out of a trained slug and injected it into an untrained one. The naive slug started recoiling for 40 seconds, as if it had been shocked. As if, Glanzman said, they had transferred the memory itself in a syringe. But the cleanest evidence doesn't come from mice or slugs. It comes from a worm barely a millimetre long. Feed the nematode a bacterium that makes it sick, and it learns to avoid the smell of that germ. The remarkable part, reported by Colleen Murphy's lab at Princeton, is that its offspring avoid that smell too. And their offspring and theirs for 4 generations. The lesson outlived the worm that learned it, carried by a single small strand of RNA. And in mammals, we now know a real courier exists. Fragments of RNA riding inside sperm can carry the metabolic echo of a father's diet into his pups. The wall, it turns out, is not perfectly sealed. So the case looks strong, until you push on it. Look at the human evidence, the part that hits closest to home. In the Dutch famine of the winter of 1944, a nation starved for months. Children conceived in that hunger still carried, 60 years later, a different chemical mark on a growth gene, along with a lifetime of metabolic trouble. In a remote Swedish parish called Överkalix, dusty harvest records hinted that a boy's years of feast or famine echoed in how his grandsons died. And in survivors of the Holocaust, one lab reported altered stress hormone marks in children who were never in the camps. Each of these is haunting. Each is also fragile. The samples are often tiny. The Swedish result, when a team tried to repeat it with over 11,000 people, mostly fell apart. And there is always a quieter explanation waiting, that a frightened parent raises a frightened child, that poverty breeds poverty, that we are seeing a story passed down in behaviour and circumstance, not in chemistry. Trauma can echo through a family without ever touching a single gene. Even the clean worm result is, right now, in open combat. In 2025, one lab announced it simply could not reproduce the effects past a single generation. Not robust, they said. Weeks later, a second, independent lab reported that they could reproduce it, and that the first team had broken the experiment, not the finding. 2 careful groups, the same worms, opposite answers, published side by side. This is not a solved case. This is science arguing with itself in real time. So, can you inherit a memory? It depends entirely on what you mean by the word. What we know is real. Your genes wear the marks of your life, and in worms and plants and flies, those marks can ride down several generations. What is uncertain is whether we mammals, whether you, truly pass experience past that double wall of erasure, or whether the human studies are catching shadows of shared genes and shared lives. And And what is genuinely open is the deepest part of all. Whether anything like the content of a memory, a place, a face, a moment could ever survive the crossing, or whether all that gets through is a vaguer thing, a sensitivity, a flinch, an echo without a picture, because that is the quiet trick in the question. A mouse that fears a smell has not inherited the afternoon in the lab. It has inherited a warning with the story rubbed off. Maybe that is all any of us carry from the people before us. Not their memories, but the shape their memories left behind. So here is what I will leave with you. If your body carries what your grandparents lived through, the hunger, the fear, the thing they never spoke about, is that a memory or only an echo? What do you think? And that is where I will leave it. And if there is a mystery you would love to see untangled, tell me. Until the next one.